Hello BookTube. I thought I'd talk about a new writer, a new book that I've came across and picked it up in a charity shop for next to nothing, 50p, something like that. It's a Penguin 20th century classic. I just read the blurb, I'd never heard of it before, but it is a classic apparently. And it's my own fault for not having heard about it before. Raymond Queneau, Zazie in the Metro. And it's quite unique. It's a very amusing book. And anyway, Raymond Queneau was I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Is it Queneau? Queneau, I think, probably. Raymond Zazie dans le Metro. He was an intellectual, philosopher, professor, and he was one of the founder members of Oulipo, which is a famous kind of French intellectual writing group, and Georges Perec was one of them, who wrote a novel that didn't include the letter E. So they set themselves all kind of intellectual tasks and, you know, all that kind of thing, to make life interesting, I suppose. This was published in 1959 and became an instant classic, and it's been filmed as well. I've never seen the film. This is translated by Barbara Wright, and the translation of it must have been quite a challenge because there's a lot of slang. It's a very slangy. You would think, you know, if it's going to be by this great intellectual, it's going to be full of quotes about Hegel and things like this, but it isn't. It masquerades as a romp, and it's a little bit like what can I say? It's I don't know, maybe oh, I can't think. It's probably not like anything. The very first word is one word. How can you stink so though? So, wondered Gabriel, exasperated. It's incredible. They never clean themselves. It says in the paper that not 11% of the flats in Paris have bathrooms. Doesn't surprise me, but you can wash without. They can't make much of an effort. He's waiting in the Gare d'Austerlitz for this child to turn up. A mother is leaving him with him, his nephew, for a couple of days, and he's waiting by the train. The train turns up, and then a little chick materializes and addresses him. I'm Zazie. I bet you're my Uncle Gabriel. I am indeed, says Gabriel, ennobling his tone. Yes, I'm your uncle. The kid cackles. You smell gorgeous, says the child. Fios barbouz, explains the colossus. Will you put a bit behind my ears? It's a man's perfume. And what happens with this is it quickly changes scene, as you might say. So then we get somebody else. This is Jean Lalachère, who's Zazie's mother. That's the little object, says Jean Lalachère, turning up at last. You said you look after it. Well, here it is. That'll be all right, says Gabriel. Can I really rely on you? I don't want her to get herself raped by the whole family, you know. But you know perfectly well that you came in just in time last time. In any case, says Jean Lalachère, I don't want it to happen again. You don't need to worry, says Gabriel. Good. Then I'll see you here the day after tomorrow in time for the 6:60 train. On the departure side, says Gabriel. Naturally, says Jean Lalachère, who had been occupied. So, it's not a very Kind way to talk about your daughter. That's the little object. You said you'd look after it. So, Zazie is quite a character though. So they go off and she calls him Uncle. Uncle, she yells, are we going by metro? No. What do you mean no? Well, today can't be done. It's a strike. There's a lot of slang in this, and obviously I don't know what it's like in French, but the translator Barbara writers anglicised it, but used English slang, and it's quite effective, I think. It's a strike. "Ooh, the bastards," cries Zazie. "Ooh, the swine to do that to me." "It's not only you they're doing it to," says Gabriel, perfectly objective. "Don't give a damn. Doesn't alter the fact that it's happening to me. Me that was so happy, so pleased and everything, to be going to be conveyed by metro. Blast bloody hell." "Anyway, we must get a move on," says Gabriel. "My time and patience may be inexhaustible, but Charlie's aren't." "Oh, I know that one," exclaims Zazie, furious. "I read it in the almanac for Morp." "Oh no, Charles is a pal and he has a cab and he's waiting for us. I booked it precisely on account of the strike." So they go, so he's got this friend Charles. They go and get in his taxi. "It's lousy, his old jalopy," says Zazie. "Get in," says Gabriel. "Don't be such a snob." "Snob my arse," says Zazie. "Funny little creature, your niece," says Charles. And he pushes the syringe and causes the engine to revolve. They drive for a bit and then Gabriel indicates the landscape with a magnificent gesture. "Ah, Paris," he utters in an encouraging tone. "What a beautiful city, just look, hey, how beautiful it is." "Don't give a damn," says Zazie. "What I wanted was to go in the metro." "The metro," bawls Gabriel, "the metro. Well, there it is." And he points to something in the air. Zazie frowns. She's on her guard. "The metro," she repeats. "The metro," she adds scornfully. "It's underground, the metro." "Well, you know." "That one," says Gabriel, "is the elevated." "Well, then it's not the metro." Tripe. So he devotes her attention. "How about that?" he roars. "Look, the Pantheon." "The things you hear," says Charles without turning round. He was driving slowly so that the child could see the sights and improve her mind into the bargain. "Maybe it isn't the Pantheon?" asks Gabriel. "No," says Charles. No, and no, it isn't the Pantheon." "Well, what would it be then, in your opinion?" "I don't really know," says Charles. "There, you see, but it isn't the Pantheon." The thing is that Charles is pig-headed as well. "We'll ask a passer-by," suggests Gabriel. "Passers-by," retorts Charles. "They're all bleeding clots." "That's true enough," says Zazie serenely. "I've got it," roars Gabriel. "That thing we've just seen. It wasn't the Pantheon. Of course it wasn't. It was the Gare de Lyon." "Maybe." "You're talking through the back of your head," says Charles. "That's got nothing to do with the Invalides." "Well, if it isn't the Invalides, tell us what it is." "I don't really know." "You too," says Zazie indulgently. "You're funny little creatures." Zazie, declares Gabriel, assuming a majestic air which he effortlessly selects from his repertoire. "If you really like to see the Invalides and the genuine tomb of the real Napoleon, I'll take you there." "Napoleon my arse," retorts Zazie. "I'm not in the least interested in that old windbag with his silly bugger's hat." So it goes on like that. She never does get into the metro. And then they meet Gabriel's associates, and they're all strange, silly characters, really, working class people. And the place he lives in, there's a bar called La Cave in the basement, and so I go there, and Gabriel's always drinking, of course, and they meet up with odd characters, police and so on, and everybody's everybody's bonkers, but in a very amusing way. And there's a parrot, which is nice, of course. And the parrot, what's the parrot called? But the parrot plays a fair part in it, which isn't bad, because it can only say one thing. Talk, talk, that's all you ever do. Oh, lavadeur, the parrot is called, which means the green, I suppose, lavadeur, the grass. But there is a parrot, and there's a lot of drinking goes on, a lot of quite wild behaviour, actually. And it's just after the occupation, of course. It's set just after the occupation, and there is talk about that a little bit, what Paris must have been like at that time. But basically, I think the word romp describes it quite well. People fall in love with each other and then decide, oh, I can't be bothered. Various things happen like that. Gabriel, it turns out, is he does a, what do you call it, a burlesque show at this seedy kind of club. What's the club called? But it's definitely not the sort of place you would take a child. That's his job. He doesn't tell her at first what he does. She keeps saying, "Are you a homosexual?" She doesn't know what it is, what it means, but she that's what she has heard. She doesn't actually know what that entails, but he isn't, he's married, but he does this act dressed up in a pink tutu, and of course they end up going to this club, but they seem to stay out all night with these various strange adventures, and it's hilarious. The very last chapter, it's not a very long book, 156, 157 pages, so it's a quick read, and as I say, it's hilarious. Right at the end, the mother, Jeanne Lalachère, turns up again, because she left her daughter because she was having a weekend fling with some guy, and she realised she's bored with him. Anyway, she comes back, and so she says, how did it go? And then she sees Zazie and says, Gabriel says, as you see, but she's asleep on her feet. We had a little party. You must excuse her, and me too. You must excuse me. I understand. And they get on the train, and the mother asks Zazie, well, did you enjoy yourself? All right. Did you see the metro? No. What have you done then? I've aged. I think it's fantastic. So there we are. They've made a film about it. I haven't seen the film. Oh, I'd not even heard of the book. but it is a comic cult classic. Thank you very much, BookTube.